We begin our report with TikTok. 130 million Americans use the app every day. For now. On Capitol Hill, lawmakers are considering banning it entirely. The CEO of TikTok tried to slow that freight train during congressional testimony Thursday. Xiao Chu spent more than 4 hours answering questions from lawmakers, or more accurately, being interrupted by lawmakers who alleged the company spies on Americans and would hand over U.S. data to the Chinese government or allow the Chinese government to spread misinformation. Lawmakers also interrupted about concerns of misinformation and protecting young users. Nicole Killian has the latest.
We do not trust TikTok will ever embrace American values.
From the beginning, Xiao Chu, the CEO of the most downloaded app in the past 2 years, faced intense scrutiny.
My time is up, and if this committee gets its way, TikTok's time is up.
The TikTok executive tried to reassure lawmakers with a commitment to safety.
There are more than 150 million Americans who love our platform, and we know we have a responsibility to protect them.
And he insisted the video sharing platform is not an arm of the Chinese government, despite being owned by parent company ByteDance, based in Beijing.
Has ByteDance spied on American citizens?
I don't think that spying is the right way to describe it.
Chu said the company is working to build a firewall dubbed Project Texas to store and protect user data in the U.S.
I have seen no evidence that the Chinese government has access to that data.
I find that actually preposterous.
Lawmakers also pressed Chu on harmful content aimed at younger users, from buying drugs on the app to dangers of some TikTok challenges and videos promoting eating disorders and suicidal behavior.
Our kids are at risk on your platform.
The Nazca family attended the hearing. Their 16-year-old son died by suicide after viewing disturbing videos served up on the platform.
I would just like to see mainly the stopping of promoting these types of videos that my son was getting.
President Biden has banned the app on government devices, along with at least 24 states.
Does this put TikTok closer to a complete ban?
Absolutely. I think it was pretty clear that the Congress is unified in terms of opposing TikTok.
And Nicole Killian joins me now. Nicole, was there a balance? Like, how much of the questioning was focused on security concerns and how much was on this question of content moderation and safety for children?
Well, I'd say it was about 60-40 or maybe 70-30. I mean, really, the lion's share of this hearing was focused on whether the company has ties to China. Of course, it's owned by ByteDance, which is based in Beijing. But time and again, lawmakers tried to press the CEO about the relationship there, because to some, it's one and the same. And while the CEO tried to put some distance with ByteDance, he did acknowledge that it's possible that the Chinese could potentially still have access to some of this data, Chinese employees, that is at ByteDance. And so while he did commit to this project, Texas, that it would be a firewall that would store and house U.S. data, again, he wasn't able to convince a lot of lawmakers that something like that would be secure enough. But there were a lot of questions as well about the protection of teens, particularly on the platform. We know a lot of young people use TikTok, and so there were a lot of parents on this panel who talked about their own kids and who talked about the difficulties in trying to shield kids from some of these videos on TikTok, whether that's, encouraging eating disorders or suicidal behavior. There were the parents, as we mentioned in our piece, of one teen who died by suicide. So it was a real concern for lawmakers. The CEO, for his part, did say that they have implemented a number of parental controls by limiting the time that minors can spend on TikTok if they're under 18, and also by making sure that kids who are 16 and under can't receive direct messages.
Was there any indication, Nicole, that any members of Congress were trying to solve either of the problems TikTok has, either this question of standards for younger users to protect younger users, or perhaps to come up with some solution to protect data better, or was it really just a romp for 4 hours?
Well, in the view of TikTok, I mean, the company put out a statement after the hearing accusing the panel of political grandstanding. But the chair of the committee, Kathy McMorris Rogers, did talk to reporters a short time ago, and she said that the panel is looking to move on legislation. You know, one thing she talked about was perhaps the need for some type of national privacy standard. So that is legislation that she is working on with the ranking member, Congressman Pallone, and that is something that certainly other members of this panel co-signed on as well. You know, what was interesting about the members of this panel, because I talked to a number of them over the past couple of days, and many of them made clear that the jury is still out as to whether or not a ban on TikTok is warranted. As you know, there are a number of pieces of legislation that are making their way through Congress that would either restrict the platform or perhaps implement a national ban going beyond the law that Congress passed just a couple of months ago to ban TikTok on government devices. So many members in this panel still on the fence about a potential ban. Certainly some do support that, but others said they wanted to use this hearing to try to inform their decision going forward.
All right, Nicole Killian on Capitol Hill. Thank you.
You bet.